Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a question. How many of you are holding back on your dreams because you're waiting for someone to say yes? How many of you have hesitated to start, speak up, or pursue what matters because you fear judgment, criticism, or disapproval? The truth is, most people live their entire lives seeking permission. Permission to speak, to act, to dream, or to step into their potential. We've been conditioned by society, family, and peers to ask first, to wait for approval, to follow rules even when they don't serve us. And while this might feel safe, it is the single biggest reason why dreams are delayed and lives remain ordinary. Today, I want to show you the secret to freedom, the moment your life changes the day you stop needing permission. Not from your boss, your parents, your friends, or anyone else. Your permission, your courage, and your self-trust are all you need to take ownership of your life. When you stop needing validation from others, you start making decisions that matter. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop following the crowd and start leading your own life. And that's when real growth, opportunity, and fulfillment begin. In this speech, we will explore 6 transformative principles, 6 ways to reclaim control, break free from approval addiction, and live a life guided by your own values. By the end, you'll understand not just why seeking permission holds you back, but how to move forward boldly, confidently, and independently. If you've ever felt stuck waiting for someone else's approval or hesitant to act on your ideas, this speech will change the way you think and empower you to take action immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we've recognized our habit of seeking permission, it's time to confront the most insidious reason why we do it: fear of judgment. This fear stops more people than lack of talent, resources, or opportunity ever could. It is the silent thief of potential, the invisible barrier that keeps dreams locked behind self-doubt. Think about it. How often have you hesitated to speak up in a meeting, share your ideas, or take action because you imagined someone rolling their eyes or thinking you were foolish? How often have you stayed silent, delayed a decision, or abandoned a plan because of what others might think? This fear is not based in reality. It is a story your mind tells you to protect you from imagined pain. And here's the truth: most of the judgment you fear will never happen. And even if it does, it has no power unless you give it power. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She faced rejection after rejection from publishers. People told her story wouldn't sell, that children wouldn't read it, that she wasn't good enough. But Rowling didn't let judgment dictate her actions. She submitted her manuscript anyway, believing in her story despite criticism. Today, her books have inspired millions. The lesson: fear of judgment is a lie. Success begins the moment you refuse to believe it. Fear of judgment also shows up in small, everyday decisions. Imagine an employee who wants to propose a new idea at work but stays quiet, worrying about what colleagues might think. Or a person who wants to start a YouTube channel but fears ridicule. Every hesitation reinforces the false belief that other people's opinions matter more than your growth. The irony is, those who act boldly often discover that most people are either supportive or indifferent. The judgment we imagine is far louder in our heads than in reality. Let's look at another example. A young entrepreneur named Alex wanted to launch a digital marketing service. Every time he thought about advertising his skills or pitching a client, he imagined failure and ridicule. He kept delaying, convincing himself he needed perfect conditions. One day, he decided to act anyway. Ignoring the fear, he pitched a small client, learned from the experience, and soon built a thriving business. The fear of judgment had been a mirage. The real barrier was his hesitation. Even in sports, judgment can paralyze potential. A basketball player may hesitate to take a decisive shot, fearing criticism if they miss. But the most successful players understand that public judgment is fleeting, while regret is lasting. They take the shot anyway, learning from mistakes and growing stronger with every attempt. Here's the key insight: fear of judgment is a thought, not reality. It only has power if you feed it with doubt. Every time you imagine ridicule or criticism, ask yourself, will this matter in a month, a year, 10 years? Will it stop me from growing? Most of the time, the answer is no, and yet this imagined fear controls more decisions than any external obstacle. Another real-world example comes from innovators and creators. Steve Wozniak built the first Apple computer in his garage without caring what others thought. He focused on creation, not validation. The fear of judgment did not stop him. By the time the product reached the world, the critics didn't matter. The results spoke for themselves. The lesson is clear: judgment has power only if you give it power. Fear of judgment also affects personal growth and relationships. Many people avoid difficult conversations, creative pursuits, or bold life changes because they worry about what others will think. The truth is, those who embrace discomfort and act despite imagined criticism develop confidence, resilience, and clarity. The courage to ignore judgment multiplies over time. Each act of boldness reinforces the belief that your life is yours to lead. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's the challenge. The next time you hesitate because of imagined judgment, recognize it for what it is: a lie your mind is telling you. Ask yourself, am I choosing fear over growth? Am I letting the opinions of others dictate my life? Your life changes the moment you see that judgment is powerless unless you allow it to be powerful. The opinions, the whispers, the imagined criticisms, they are irrelevant compared to the person you are becoming and the results you are capable of achieving. Remember, the world is far too busy with its own concerns to judge you as harshly as you fear. Speak anyway. Create anyway. The fear of judgment is a mirage. Courage, action, self-belief are the bridge to freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, fear of judgment is a lie, and your life begins when you stop believing it. Step boldly into your potential and refuse to let imagined criticism dictate your path. That is the power of true independence. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we've recognized our permission addiction and learned to see through the fear of judgment, it's time to confront another invisible barrier: social conditioning. From the moment we are born, we are shaped by the expectations, rules, and beliefs of society. Family, school, friends, and culture all impose ideas about what we can and cannot do. And while some guidance is necessary, much of it creates limitations we carry far into adulthood, often without even realizing it. Social conditioning is subtle. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you, you shouldn't take that risk, or that's not how people like us succeed, or be realistic, don't dream too big. Over time, these whispers become internalized beliefs, and we stop listening to our own voice. We start conforming, living within the boundaries others set, and delaying or abandoning our dreams. Consider the story of Sarah, a young woman who always wanted to be a pilot. Her parents told her it was too risky and suggested a safer career in administration. Friends laughed at the idea, saying, "Not many women fly planes." Sarah internalized these messages and delayed pursuing her dream. Years later, she realized her fear wasn't of failing, but of stepping outside the socially approved path. The moment she recognized this conditioning, she enrolled in flight school and eventually earned her pilot's license. Breaking free from social conditioning gave her the courage to reclaim her life. Social conditioning also explains why so many people live with unfulfilled potential. A student chooses a conventional career because that's what everyone else does, ignoring a passion for art or entrepreneurship. An employee stays in a comfortable but unchallenging job because society measures success by stability, not fulfillment. A young professional hesitates to start a business because the prevailing belief is you need experience first. These patterns are everywhere, and they keep talented, capable people trapped in mediocrity. Let's bring this closer to business. Many entrepreneurs fail before they even start because they are conditioned to fear risk. They've been taught that failure is shameful, debt is dangerous, and uncertainty is to be avoided. Yet every successful entrepreneur knows that risk is the pathway to opportunity, and every failure is a lesson, not a verdict. Social conditioning can blind you to these truths until you consciously decide to think differently. Even in personal growth, social conditioning limits behavior. How many times have you avoided meditation, journaling, or self-reflection because it seemed weird or unnecessary according to cultural norms? How many people suppress creativity, curiosity, or ambition because they've been told these pursuits are impractical or frivolous? By breaking free from these limiting beliefs, you allow yourself to experiment, grow, and create a life that aligns with your true purpose. Consider innovators like Elon Musk or Oprah Winfrey. Both faced tremendous societal expectations and skepticism. Musk was told electric cars and space exploration were impractical, even impossible. Oprah grew up in poverty and faced societal expectations that limited her potential. Yet both challenged conditioning, ignored societal doubt, and built extraordinary success by listening to their inner vision rather than external approval. Their freedom came from questioning norms and redefining possibilities. Breaking free from social conditioning requires awareness and courage. Start by asking which of my fears, doubts, or hesitations come from my own judgment, and which come from the messages I've absorbed from others. List these limiting beliefs and question them. Test them in small ways. Experiment. Learn. Every step you take outside the socially conditioned comfort zone strengthens your independence and confidence. A powerful method to overcome conditioning is to replace limiting messages with empowering ones. If society tells you you can't start that business, tell yourself, I can learn and grow, and I will take the first step today. If you've been conditioned to fear public speaking, remind yourself, confidence is built by action, not approval. By consciously choosing your own narrative, you gradually rewire the beliefs that once held you back. Ladies and gentlemen, the world you see around you is full of rules, expectations, and limitations imposed by others, many of them outdated, arbitrary, or irrelevant to your dreams. Your life changes the day you question the conditioning that tells you what is possible or impossible. True freedom begins when you act in alignment with your own vision, not the one society designed for you. Remember, social conditioning can shape your comfort zone, but doesn't define your potential. When you break free, you reclaim control, creativity, and courage. You begin to live intentionally, guided by your values, not by what others expect. The moment you stop following the crowd and start listening to yourself, extraordinary opportunities appear, doors open, and the life you truly want becomes attainable. Ladies and gentlemen, don't wait for permission. Don't fear judgment. And don't let society decide what you can or cannot do. Question the conditioning, challenge it. Break free. Your life changes the moment you start thinking for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we've recognized permission addiction, seen through fear of judgment, and broken free from social conditioning, the next critical step is to learn to trust yourself before seeking anyone else's approval. Because here's the truth: the moment you rely on external validation to make decisions, you surrender control of your life. The person who trusts themselves is unstoppable, confident, and capable of creating results, even in the face of doubt or uncertainty. Self-trust begins with believing in your own ability to think, decide, and act. It doesn't mean arrogance or ignoring advice, but rather acknowledging that your judgment, instincts, and preparation are enough to guide you. The people who achieve extraordinary results are those who act decisively based on their own assessment of what is right, not waiting for a nod, a permission slip, or a pat on the back. Consider a real-world example. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, she had an idea for a revolutionary product, but she had no investors, no team, and no approval from industry experts. Many people told her it wouldn't work. But Sarah trusted herself, her instincts, her research, and her persistence. She acted without seeking permission, navigating the challenges with confidence. Today, Spanx is a billion-dollar company, and her success was only possible because she trusted herself before asking anyone else to do so. Self-trust also plays a massive role in everyday life. Think about decisions you face, choosing a career path, starting a business, speaking up in a meeting, or even setting boundaries in relationships. If you wait for everyone else to approve your choices, your life becomes reactive instead of proactive. But when you trust yourself, you make decisions swiftly, confidently, and aligned with your values, creating momentum and opportunity. Even in the creative world, self-trust is a game changer. Writers, artists, and musicians often face criticism or doubt from peers or mentors. The ones who succeed are not those who wait for universal approval. They are the ones who believe in their own vision, refine it, and share it boldly. The fear of judgment fades when self-trust becomes the foundation of every action. Another example comes from entrepreneurship. Consider someone pitching a startup idea to investors. If they hesitate because they need reassurance from friends or mentors, they might miss the window of opportunity. But an entrepreneur who trusts their preparation, knowledge, and instincts walks in with confidence. They anticipate challenges, answer questions decisively, and exude credibility, all because self-trust precedes external validation. Often, the act of trusting yourself inspires others to trust you. Self-trust is also about learning from experience rather than fearing mistakes. Every time you make a choice based on your judgment, even if the outcome isn't perfect, you gain data, insight, and resilience. Over time, this builds a strong internal compass. Contrast this with someone who constantly seeks approval. Every small decision requires consensus, creating hesitation, frustration, and stagnation. Let's talk about personal relationships. Trusting yourself allows you to set boundaries, speak your truth, and act with integrity. People who depend on approval often compromise their values to keep others happy, leading to stress, resentment, and a sense of powerlessness. Self-trust empowers you to act authentically, creating deeper respect, loyalty, and meaningful connections. Building self-trust requires intentional practice. Start small. Make small daily decisions without seeking validation. Even tiny acts like choosing a project, saying no, or voicing an opinion strengthen your confidence. Reflect on past successes. Remind yourself of times you made good decisions and acted courageously. Let your history reinforce your belief in your abilities. Accept imperfection. Trust doesn't mean perfection. Every mistake is a learning opportunity that strengthens your judgment. Take responsibility. When you trust yourself, you also take full ownership of your results, successes, and failures. This accountability builds integrity and confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, the life you desire begins with self-trust. Waiting for someone else's approval will keep you small, hesitant, and reactive. Acting with trust in your own judgment empowers you to move boldly, embrace opportunities, and lead your life on your terms. Remember, trust yourself first, and others will naturally align with your confidence and vision. Your dreams, ideas, and potential are valid. The only approval you truly need is your own. The moment you internalize this principle, your life transforms. You stop waiting, you stop hesitating, you step into action, courage, and purpose. Self-trust is the foundation for freedom, success, and fulfillment. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we've built awareness of permission addiction, seen through fear of judgment, broken free from social conditioning, and learned to trust ourselves, it's time for the most powerful catalyst for transformation, taking action without asking for permission. This principle is simple but profound. The moment you act without waiting for approval, you reclaim control of your life. Too many people wait for a green light, a boss's blessing, a mentor's nod, a friend's encouragement before stepping forward. But life doesn't wait. Opportunities don't pause, and growth doesn't come to those who hesitate. Every moment spent waiting is a moment lost. Let me illustrate with a story. A young entrepreneur named Ravi had a brilliant idea for an eco-friendly packaging company. He wanted to pitch investors but kept waiting for validation from friends and family. They were skeptical, saying, "Start small first, or maybe you should study more before investing." Months passed and opportunities slipped away. One day, Ravi decided enough was enough. He acted without permission, pitched his concept to a small investor group and secured funding. His company grew steadily, and within a few years, it became a recognized brand in sustainable packaging. The only difference between stagnation and success was deciding to act without waiting for someone else to say yes. Taking action without asking is about embracing responsibility and courage simultaneously. It means trusting your judgment, committing to learning along the way, and being willing to fail forward. Those who wait for permission often stay comfortable, but comfort rarely creates breakthroughs. Action, even imperfect action, generates momentum, clarity, and results. Consider the tech world. Many breakthrough innovations were created by people who didn't ask for approval. Steve Wozniak built the first Apple computer in his garage without permission. Mark Zuckerberg launched Facebook from his dorm room without asking anyone for approval. Their boldness, not validation, created opportunity. They acted first and figured out the details along the way. That's a lesson for all of us. Opportunity favors action, not approval. Even in everyday life, this principle makes a huge difference. Think about someone who wants to improve their health. Instead of waiting for a trainer's schedule, a friend's advice, or a perfect day, they start small at home, running, lifting, eating better. Progress compounds because action never waits for permission. Or consider someone who wants to pursue a passion like writing a book or starting a YouTube channel. The first step, writing the first page or uploading the first video, is the hardest. Once you act, momentum builds, confidence grows, and learning accelerates. Taking action without asking also strengthens self-reliance. When you wait for approval, you rely on others for direction, validation, and motivation. When you act independently, you build resilience, creativity, and confidence. Every time you take a step without asking, you prove to yourself that you are capable of handling challenges, mistakes, and success. There's also a psychological shift that happens. Action generates courage, not the other way around. Many people think they need confidence before they act, but in reality, confidence is built by doing. Each action you take without waiting for permission reinforces the belief that you can handle your life. Momentum and self-trust compound, making future decisions easier and bolder. Let's look at relationships. Often, people hesitate to express feelings, apologize, or confront issues because they fear judgment. Waiting for permission from the other person or fearing their reaction stalls growth. The person who acts responsibly, expresses openly, and takes initiative strengthens relationships and resolves conflicts faster. Action becomes the bridge between intention and reality. Practical strategies to act without asking. Identify the smallest step you can take today, no permission required. Start there. Accept imperfection. You don't need the perfect plan, perfect timing, or perfect approval. Progress beats perfection. Commit publicly or privately. Declare your goal to yourself or a trusted ally. Accountability accelerates action. Learn from feedback, not fear. Once action is taken, adjust based on results, not imagined criticism. Ladies and gentlemen, the most successful people in history share one trait: they acted before waiting for approval. They understood that waiting for someone else to validate their ideas, decisions, or dreams would cost them precious time, opportunities, and growth. Your life changes the day you stop asking. Every act you take independently builds confidence, experience, and momentum. Every small decision without permission strengthens your self-trust and expands your capability. The world rewards those who act decisively, even imperfectly, while hesitation only delays results. Remember this: permission is never required for progress. Action is the only true catalyst. Start today. Take the first step. Fail if necessary. Learn relentlessly and keep moving. Your independence, growth, and success begin the moment you act without asking. Ladies and gentlemen, we have explored permission addiction, fear of judgment, social conditioning, self-trust, and taking action without waiting. Now we arrive at the final, perhaps most powerful principle: leading your own life with courage. Leading your life with courage doesn't mean recklessness or arrogance. It means choosing your path, making decisions aligned with your values, and acting boldly even when others doubt or criticize you. Most people live passively, reacting to circumstances, drifting with the tide of expectations, and letting others' opinions guide them. Courage is the difference between a life lived for others and a life lived intentionally for yourself. Consider the story of Malala Yousafzai. Even as a young girl, she recognized the importance of education for herself and other girls in a society where many opposed it. She acted with courage, speaking out despite threats and danger. Her bravery not only changed her life, but inspired a global movement. Courage in action transforms not only your destiny, but also the world around you. Courage also shows up in daily life in more subtle ways. It's the person who stands up for their principles at work, even when colleagues oppose them. It's the entrepreneur who starts a business in uncertainty, trusting their vision. It's the individual who chooses a difficult path of growth rather than staying comfortable and stagnant. Courage is the bridge between potential and achievement. Leading your life courageously begins with clarity. You must know what you stand for, what matters to you, and what kind of life you want to create. Without this clarity, courage becomes directionless risk. But with clarity, even small courageous acts compound into monumental results. Each decision you make in alignment with your values reinforces your confidence and shapes your character. Let me give you a real-world example. James, a mid-level manager, dreamed of starting his own consultancy but feared failure and criticism. After years of hesitation, he clarified his purpose and values, understanding that helping businesses grow through his expertise was his mission. With this clarity, he acted courageously, quitting his stable job to launch his consultancy. The early months were challenging, but by aligning action with purpose, he built a thriving business. His courage not only created opportunity, but transformed him into a leader capable of handling it. Courage is also about embracing discomfort and uncertainty. Life rarely rewards those who play it safe. The most significant achievements, relationships, and personal growth often lie on the other side of fear. Think of someone moving to a new city for a job, starting a business with limited funds, or ending a toxic relationship. Each choice requires courage, yet each also brings the opportunity to grow stronger. Another real-world example is Elon Musk. When he founded SpaceX, he faced skepticism, financial risk, and immense technical challenges. Most people advised him to give up, but he acted with courage, leading with vision, persistence, and bold decision-making. Today, SpaceX is revolutionizing space travel. Courage allowed him to step into uncertainty and create extraordinary results. Leading your life with courage is also about inspiring others by example. When you act boldly, you demonstrate that life is not about waiting for permission, fearing judgment, or conforming to norms. Your courage motivates those around you to rise, act, and lead their lives as well. Leadership begins not with a title, but with personal courage in action. Practical ways to cultivate courage include: start with small acts of bravery, speak up, make a decision, or pursue a goal despite fear. Clarify your purpose and values. When your actions align with your inner compass, courage becomes natural. Embrace failure as feedback. Mistakes are part of the journey, not a verdict on your worth. Surround yourself with supportive, courageous people. Their example strengthens your own courage. Reflect daily on progress. Every act of courage reinforces self-trust and resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, courage is the final key that ties all the principles together. It allows you to trust yourself, take action, ignore judgment, break free from conditioning, and live intentionally. Without courage, knowledge, awareness, and preparation remain dormant. With courage, they transform into impact, results, and a life you can be proud of. Remember, leading your life with courage is not optional, it is necessary. Every great achiever, innovator, and leader faced fear and uncertainty but chose action over hesitation. Your dreams, your potential, and your purpose demand the same. Stop waiting. Stop fearing. Step boldly into your life. Lead yourself first and the world will follow. Ladies and gentlemen, your life changes the day you take full ownership and lead it courageously. The moment you act with integrity, clarity, and bravery, you become unstoppable. Your vision becomes reality, your potential manifests, and your impact reaches far beyond yourself.